Right now, in this moment, we know there is only one life, one heartbeat, one breath, one mind. It is God and it is perfect. I speak from that perfection, knowing that right now is all that matters. Right in this moment is God's moment. And we are all aligned in this moment today to experience something beautiful. For there is only beauty, there is only God, there is only perfection. Regardless of appearances, regardless of past thoughts, there is only God. So I bless this moment, knowing all is well. I release free of doubt, free of worry, free of concern, and so it is. How is everyone doing? Today we are talking about facing the feelings. If you are in the Bay Area, facing the feelings is a very interesting thing to talk about. This is the first time ever in my 39 years on the planet that the sun never ever showed itself, and not because of clouds, but because of smoke from fires in so many different other areas. Just that's been very interesting to look at today. So when I think of facing the feelings, I also think about how there's been moments in my life where I've gotten fed up with the everyday routine and the everyday of just doing the same thing over and over again and saying to myself, I want something different to happen. And so I find myself, I won't speak for all of you, but I find myself really looking at what that means to me. And I don't want to only talk today. I want all of us to I want to open the floor later for all of us to really talk about what's on our mind, especially around the topic, facing the feelings. Something I've asked myself today is, how am I feeling? And why am I feeling this way? Lately, I've been looking at that, especially in situations where there's an invitation. And as human beings, we are always inviting each other for something, which means that whatever state of mind I'm in at the moment, if it's a loving state of mind, if it's a confrontational state of mind, whatever my state of mind is, any interaction I have with a human being, I'm always inviting them to have that same state of mind. And so if I find myself in a situation where maybe it's something easy like road rage and somebody cuts me off or somebody says something rude, the state of mind I'm in is going to reflect from that moment. So the person can say something to me that's rude. If I'm in a combative state of mind, I'm going to accept their invitation. Now we're engaging, we're doing the dance. If I'm in a peaceful state of mind, it's easy for me to just say, no, thank you. I'm not thinking that way right now, and continue on with my life. Just the thought of what's going on. My wife and I have family in Northern California, more north than the Bay, where all the fires are going on. And I can't help but to feel for our family that's up there. I can only imagine what it's like to have to evacuate on such a certain notice and look at what's going on in this neighborhood that you love so much, just burning and everything that's going on. I can only imagine what that feels like. And I feel for them. I have no idea what it feels like, but I can feel empathy for them. And it must be painful. I remember brother Ishmael Tete saying, your pain is real, but you are not your pain. We all feel. And we all want our feelings to be acknowledged. But who wants to be the first one to hear someone else's feelings and to acknowledge what someone else is going through? Who wants to be the first to do that? We all want to be heard, but who wants to be the first to put their ear out there and say, let me hear what's going on in this person's life. Let me see from their perspective. And so when I hear facing the feelings, I also ask, why is that important? For me, it's important because I need to know what state of mind I'm in. I wanna know why I'm thinking how I'm thinking, especially when it's from a place of pain. And I wanna address it so that I can get past it. I think that that's a lot of why we want to face our feelings. We wanna face the pain. We wanna face whatever it is that's going on so that we can deal with it and get past it, because it doesn't go anywhere until we deal with it. We had a very nice intermission just a second ago after our meditation. And it was filled with a lot of laughter, a lot of smiles. It was very warm and it picked me up. Something I know about that is if I was determined on feeling how I was feeling a second ago before we had that intermission, I wouldn't have allowed myself to feel the laughter. I wouldn't have allowed myself to do any of that. I would have been invested in feeling the negativity I was feeling a little bit before. I think this is the main reason why I must face my feelings, because I can get comfortable in the uncomfort very easily. But we laughed and we shared so much laughter and just all of that in just 10 minutes. It was beautiful, and I'm very thankful for that. Those of us who want to consciously use this power must also remember that watching our words and watching our actions isn't enough. We also have to be conscious of our feelings. And the reason why is because we can continuously see what that feeling is projecting if we do not deal with it. Now, I'm not saying suppress our feelings. I'm not saying disregard our feelings. I'm saying we need to deal with it so we can get past it. The universe responds to how we feel. Not only is every word and every action an affirmation, but the feeling we have is as well. This is why having a treatment for prosperity from the feeling and consciousness of lack and limitation is almost counterproductive. We need the feeling to go with the words. Jan Levan Zant spoke at a Revelations I was at a million years ago because I was still in high school. And she talked about how life is a marathon. And in that marathon, there are many obstacles. Obstacles that'll trip you up, obstacles that may, distract you and you leave the marathon. All types of obstacles exist in this marathon called life. My favorite part of this analogy she gave was when she talked about how there are humps in this track for this marathon. Now, some trip over the hump and dust themselves off and keep running. But then there are others who trip. And not only do they just trip, they stay where it is. Matter of fact, they gather with all the others who tripped over this hump and all talk about it and talk about, yeah, see, that's why I can't stand these marathons. And oh yeah, me too, I don't like them either. It's very easy to be in that consciousness, to gather at the hump and not get past the feeling. It's very easy to do that. But we still have a marathon to continue. The race doesn't stop because we tripped over a hump. And so when I hear face our feelings, I think of that. Let me allow myself to feel. But remember that the main objective of venting and telling our story is to be able to tell a new one. Ernest Holmes says, our mental acceptances should be filled with conviction, warmth, color, and imagination. The creative power responds to feeling more quickly than any other mental attitude. I must also remember how, especially as Americans, and especially as Californians, we live in a culture of exaggeration. And what I mean by that is oftentimes when we are telling a story, we say, oh, it was terrible on so many levels. And well, it's not really that many levels it was terrible on. or just something simple as somebody tells a joke via text and we LOL. Come on now, you sitting there with a poker face LOLing. It wasn't that funny, but we do it. We exaggerate a lot. You know, when someone's telling that story and there's so many totallys and literallys and just over and over again, listen, wait a minute. Let's slow down. Is it really as bad as we're saying it is? Or we just like to tell a really good story? And it's okay to tell a really good story, but remember, once we tell the story over and over again, our subconscious begins to believe it. That's something that's very important. Because from there, believing that story is where we find ourselves in a state of feeling and may not even realize where it's coming from. Our thoughts affect our feelings just as much as our feelings affect our thoughts. They're literally the same thing. KRS-One from Boogie Down Productions has a song called Material Love. And he's talking about how love's gonna get you, how oftentimes we say, oh, I love my car, or I love this new gold chain I just bought, or I love this new pair of Jordans. And he's saying, wait a minute, do you love it or are you very fond of it? Now, this is Oakland CSL. And I know that much of what I'm saying, I'm preaching to the choir, but I think we all have those moments where we say we love something so much we forget, is it really that important though? Another quote from Ernest Holmes is, know your own mind. Train yourself to think what you wish to think. Be what you wish to be, feel what you wish to feel, and place no limit on principle. Because I'm such a hip hop nerd, let me talk about another group straight out of Oakland, California, called Blackalicious. Blackalicious has a song called Feel That Way. It's a very beautiful song. It's one of my favorite songs to play when I'm in a funk I can't get out of. I remember that song, and pretty much what Brother Chief XL is saying is that moment you had in Little League where you hit the home winning, the winning home run, or that time where you were at the school dance and that one person you wanted to ask you to dance, and just all these memories you have in your life, feel that way. You can literally feel the way that moment allowed you to feel. You can decide, it's a file right there in the brain. We can literally just decide to feel that way. That's what those memories are for. Just like we have those memories that produce the other kind of feeling that isn't so happy, we can decide right in the moment right now to feel a different way. We can do that. We were talking about haircuts a lot. My brother Zoe, my brother Larry were comparing haircuts and, grooming and everything. And, we know in the Black community, that's a real thing. Brothers love getting their hair cut. I know for me, I know that it's almost like my superpowers, it just happened once I get in that barber chair. There's interviews I think I could have did a lot better at had I went to the barbershop for. There's fights I have lost thinking, you know what, had my hair been cut, I might have handled that differently. I know it's all psychological, but guess what? I don't care what happens in my life. There is nothing that a haircut can at least make my mood that much better. I need that. It is something that I have to have that. We need to give a lot of props to Obama's barber, as well as just his wife, because we all know she's the rock star of the whole situation, but we got to give props to his barber. That confidence that we saw him walking up to the podium with, yeah, the barber helped with that. And we all have that thing we can do in our lives that puts us in a state of bliss, in a state of, let's face our feelings. Instead of being ashamed of them, instead of judging ourselves, why am I feeling this way? Why am I sad? Let's allow ourselves to feel it first. Feelings are real. They're not always rational, but they are real. And it is important for us to face them. as an American man, I'm pretty sure we all can talk about how crying just has never been allowed. We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to talk about being afraid, and just all of that is looked down upon. We even know how, at least me, I've heard ladies talk about, oh, I don't mind if a guy cries, and I like when the guy's in touch with his feelings and you give it a shot, and it's like, oh, I'm never doing that again. know, crying is just not okay in our society. But those feelings have to manifest somehow. So when we see men acting violent, when we see men acting obnoxious, and these are people who want to cry. I know, because I've had those feelings, I've had those emotions. Going to the party just to create a ruckus, leaving the house confrontational, really leaving the house like I hope somebody does say something to me. I know what that's like. I wanted to cry, and I wasn't courageous enough to face my feelings. Feelings don't just go away when we don't deal with them. They can fester and turn into something different. So I want to send a lot of love to all of us, to the entire world, for this year of 2020. There's just so much to talk about, and we're all affected by it. And I think what's beautiful about this is that all of us feel pain. As much as we don't like it, it's something that unites all of us. And with COVID, the entire world has felt some degree of uncomfort. And the whole state of California is now feeling a degree of uncomfort. And it's not always easy to think from this place, but what I get from this is the next time I'm invited to be in a confrontational situation with someone, let me check myself first and remember that just like I am in pain and dealing with a lot of uncomfort of what's going on in the world, this person is too. We can only treat others how we feel about ourselves anyway. And so I have to remember this. When I get a vibe from someone else and I feel like, wow, that was really rude, or that was really disrespectful, and I want to poke my chest out and wait a minute. What if I recognize that this is a person who's in pain? And just like I have acted out my pain before, this person is doing the same thing. Let's feel our pain. Let's welcome it. Any feelings we're feeling, why can't we just allow ourselves? I watch my son, my 2-year-old, and just how anything makes him happy. Not just the toy, but the box the toy came in. This boy will play with that and be in heaven. He'll sing his favorite song no matter who's around. He'll just start singing it. And there are times when I want to just tell him, be quiet. But I realize you are just jealous that he's allowed to feel his feelings in the moment, and you feel like you can't do it too. So you want to stop his joy. That's what that is. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about nobody else but me. I know that I have that. I so desperately want to just sing Baby Shark to the top of my lungs, no matter who's watching. I want to do that. But I told myself, oh, you're a certain age, you can't do that anymore. What if I just decided to do that because I was happy? Who would stop me? My mother said when she went to Ghana, she recognized how people would just start dancing anywhere and people would join in with them. That's something we need to think about. Just like laughter is contagious, and you just see someone laughing their butt off really hard, that you want to laugh too. You don't even know what they're laughing at. That same joy can be contagious. I love watching people just be so happy. They don't care who's watching. They're just celebrating. They're just full of that. That is pure joy. That is God being expressed right there. I want us to open up the floor for discussion, because I know that all of us have things on our mind right now, and let's just talk about how we're feeling, and let's really let this be a sacred place where people can feel safe and talk about what's on their heart right now.
So if you'd like to speak, please click on the participants button and raise your hand. Or if you can't find that, please just unmute yourself and begin to speak to share. Thank you.
While we wait, I'll just elaborate more on this facing our feelings. Oh, go ahead. Somebody talking? Oh,
Okay, who am I? Luchan, this is
yes.
Dorothy, and I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for bringing up subjects in all your all your talks that allow us to really take a look at who we are as individuals and how we can move forward. I appreciate you. I love you, and I thank God for you, darling. I just want you to know that we are blessed in this community to have you with our children, the next generation, to make change, to make things happen in this community. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. And as you move forward in whatever field it is, I want you to know that I support you 100% in whatever it is your next endeavor may be. Please reach out and touch me. This is Dorothy.
Thank you, Dorothy. I love you for that. I
Love
needed to
you,
hear that.
sweetheart. Love you. Yes, I do.
Something else that comes to mind when I talk about facing my feelings is I have to remember that I have people I can lean on when life feels heavy for me, when I'm afraid and when I'm not feeling secure. I have a beautiful community, and that's all of you who I feel safe to be vulnerable around. And that's important. It's just the simplest way to put it. It's very important. We are pack animals. We love to talk about, let me not speak for y'all. I love to talk about me being independent and all these things, but the truth is we need each other. I know I need y'all. We need each other. And it's very important to have a support system around you, especially when we're dealing with feelings and those type of emotions. So thank you, Dorothy, and I love you.
So, Lucian, this is Constance. Um, and I was just thinking, because when you were talking, you know, as a female, um, in the way I was raised, I wasn't allowed to have anger. I could cry, but that's all I could do. And then I was called a crybaby. Uh, in fact, when I was a kid, when I would cry, my dad would call me by another name. He'd say, "Oh, Connie's disappeared. So and so is here." I'm not going to say the word because it was not a healthy word, but and I was just thinking as you were talking about, because I've been feeling more and more blah as this COVID goes on and as the fires, and I haven't been able to get out and walk, and you know, a lot of things that I was doing have been curtailed even more. And I think that I'm just starting to think about this. I'm thinking about the relationship between touch and feelings, because I have had maybe 2 hugs in 6 months, and that was, you know, that was sort of taking a risk at that point, you know, to get those hugs. So really thinking about, because when I even think about that, it brings tears to my eyes.
Thank you, Constance. And you know, there's a reason why in our prison system why that's a punishment. That's like a punishment on top of you already being in the prison system. Is okay, we'll just separate you from everyone and you won't have any human contact, because people know that's a real thing. We need that. And without sounding too judgy, I would say that a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, people who will feel uncomfortable with just people in general, not just touch, there's a disconnect there. There's trauma that hasn't been dealt with, because we're here to love. Love is our default mode. And not only do we love to receive love, but we all want something to give our love to. We want our love to feel accepted. And a lot of that ties into feelings. There's moments where I felt lonely in this COVID thing. There's moments where I felt afraid. And then feeling those kind of feelings, then I judge myself for having them. Like, what kind of man feels this way? And so thank you, Constance, for your share, because that gives me another perspective. I didn't even know that there's women who grew up being told, oh, you're a crybaby, just like I have been told that for crying and allowing myself to feel vulnerable. So that's an important perspective to give, because I had no idea. I really didn't.
Luchan,
Yes.
this is Susan Brecker. I want to add to what you just said. I grew up the same way. I grew up where feelings were not acceptable. The only thing that was acceptable was to put on a happy face when you leave the house so nobody knows what's really going on. But yesterday, I was out to lunch with Richard Robinson, and we were in this restaurant and we were deep in conversation about religious science and God and feelings and fears and all kinds of stuff that was rising from the both of us. And we were also in great laughter and great joy. And what occurred in this atmosphere that seemed to emanate from both of us throughout this restaurant, not a lot of people, and we were kind of outside, somebody picked up our check because they were so delighted with what our experience, and they were getting to experience our joy, our depth. And it was just a most magnificent time. So what you said is so important. Talk about your feelings, speak them, and remember there is also joy, and there's also love, and all the blessings that are upon us when we do talk about our feelings, no matter what they are. And again, like you said, having folks around us to share and be vulnerable with is extremely important. And I thank you for this evening, Luchan. You're wonderful. Bless you.
Bless you too.
Thank you.
Hi, Luchan.
How are you, Joan?
I'm great. I'm good. I wanted to share about my feelings. I'm feeling super blessed and feeling blessed that I'm feeling blessed, if that makes sense. Susan, that was such a sweet story. And Constance, I remember being told, I'll give you something to cry about. And Dorothy, yeah, Luchan rocks. I love you, Luchan.
Thank you so much for that.
One reason I'm feeling blessed is because I'm an Oakland American and live in the Bay Area. My family is actually 4 generations born Oakland. My grandpa, my dad, myself, and my children, which I think is really awesome. I can also share that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And there was one night, I didn't know if I was going to be alive the next morning. And I didn't want to die. I wasn't ready to die. But throughout this whole event, I had my spirit, I had my soul. I mean, I had my soul, and nobody could touch that. And even though I didn't know if I was going to die, I felt elated because I had my soul. So I feel deeply for others and have worked a lot at like not being at effect of other people, like not letting them control me or being reactive, but being in control of myself and my heart and my thoughts. And it's a challenge, but it's a really worthy one. And it's gotten me through a lot to just really come from heart and spirit. So feeling, again, super blessed. And I have a women's group every Wednesday. And today we studied A Letter from a Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr., which is beautiful. If you guys haven't read it, it's really awesome, really powerful and beautiful. So feeling blessed. Yeah, thanks.
I want to thank you for your share, number one. I really appreciate it, especially when people share something personal like that. I really want to just make sure you feel honored for having the courage to do that. And as someone who's also been in an abusive relationship, I can speak to a lot of what you're just talking about.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm also happy in the fact that you've taken this painful part of your life and now you're doing something dope with it. Because I've seen from my side, the other side of it, where I've allowed that to just trample me and to just push me down. I've allowed that, and instead it has fueled you to like, all right, now I get to do something awesome.
That's right.
And that is facing our feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I was able to actually create a march for survivors of domestic violence for a safe place in Oakland, raising awareness. And we had Jerry Brown and a bunch of other people there. And yeah, it can really drive you to do beautiful things and help others and love yourself.
You're right, Joan.
Thanks.
Hi, it's Maureen. I'm walking in the darkness. What I wanted to talk about was, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on. My work is a bit busy right now. And so, okay. So I'm feeling overwhelmed, but what I'm finding with the orange day today was because you were talking about being mindful of the words that you use, and what I'm hearing from folks, more than 1, 2, like 3, like 5, 10, is like they're joking, but they're kind of serious, is like, this is the end of the world. Like what are we? Is this the apocalypse? And I just wanted to kind of put out there maybe that we could lift those folks up that, are using that terminology, and we want to obviously not think like that, right? But also to identify and to, be there for those folks that truly are in that space. So that was it.
Thank you, Maureen. And what I want to say to that, because I've heard a lot of that too, is this the end of the world? And number one, I think that is a thought that's valid. I don't want people to feel ridiculed for thinking that. But the other part of it is, I feel, and this is just my personal belief, this isn't science of mine talking at all, but if it is, isn't that all the more reason for us to be in a state of celebration? I want to go out knowing God. I want to go out full of love and celebrating. So if it is, that's all the more reason for me to. You know, I've had loved ones pass just suddenly. You know, we're fine, we're living the best life they could, and just went suddenly. And what that has shown me is I never know when it's my turn. So I want to experience as much joy and as much happiness as possible. And so I try to get over things as fast as I can. Something that this philosophy has definitely showed me is that worrying is a waste of time. Just is. Worrying is a waste of time. And what can I do when I'm worrying? With that time worrying, I could be doing something positive, even if it is just putting love out into the world. And so when I hear Susan talk about how just the vibe at her table inspired someone to be like, look, you know, I was inspired by how what you guys had going on at your table, and it made me want to do something nice too. That's the vibe. That's how we create a vibe. And once the vibe is lit, it gains momentum. One of the greatest gifts I think humans can give to each other is allowing them to be free and allowing them to be themselves fully. And that's important to me. I don't want to go somewhere and have to pretend I'm happy, especially if you invite me. I'm going to tell you from the gate if I'm not in the best mood, like, hey, just so you know, here's how I'm feeling. I don't know why I'm feeling that way. I also don't feel like cheering up because you think I should. I'm going to feel what I'm feeling. And when I'm ready to not feel that way, I feel a different way. But I think that's something that we can all do, because I do it too, is when we see someone we love in a state of funk, why do we need to cheer them up right away? Why can't we allow them to feel and have their experience? And I feel that because we're all human and we all know what it's like to be in a not so great mood, it makes us want to fix it for them. And I'll talk for me again. It makes me want to fix it for them. So if I see someone I love and I'm in a great mood, I want them to be in a great mood too. But I have to remember that it's not my job to do that, number one. And number two, when I'm in a mood, I don't want people trying to come to my rescue. I want to fully feel my feelings. And I think allowing people to feel that, hey, I'm feeling this way, and I know that's not great. And hey, listen, you get to feel how you want to feel. That's important.
I think, Tanya, did you have your hand up earlier? Would you like to still say something?
I don't have a complete thought, but I just want to say thank you, Luchan. Oh, okay. Thank you, Luchan. And Susan's inspiring story. I've been working 13, 14-hour days for about 3 weeks now, and I feel really tired. There are moments that I feel angry about the work situation, and then I stop and have to think of, you are employed, you need to be, and I start chastising myself of how I feel like I need to be feeling. And there's just a lot of things in my personal life that have been in flux for over 2 years. And one of them is, most recent is, I don't know what's going to happen to my house, and I don't know when I will move. I don't know when decisions will be made. And I have to keep going back to the verse of be still and know that I am God every single time. And that when decisions are out of my hands, I need to think of not by might, not by power, but by spirit, saith the Lord. And those two sentences get me through. Those two statements. I want to say something, Susan, about your story, because I had a silly little, just a scenario that happened tonight. Whenever I was walking my dog, I saw a woman walking her dog, and her dog looked just like her. And I know that my dogs look just like me. And I started giggling a bit and I said, your dog looks just like you. And she said, started laughing and she said, you know, I always think that about other people's dogs. But she said, it never occurred to me that people might think that about me. And she started laughing and then I started laughing. And then we both just kept giggling. I didn't even know this person. But it was just this moment of joy and connection that I felt like I really needed. So, and Susan, your story reminded me of what happened tonight. So thank you. And thank you, Luchan.
Thank you, Tanya. I love moments like that because they are very valuable in moments like this where we're dealing with fear and uncertainty and facing the unknown. Those feelings are very important. We are definitely spiritual beings, but we're also having a human experience. And at least me, I put this pressure on me that no one else has put there but me of thinking, oh, well, your science of mind, you're supposed to be happy all the time. And that's impossible. That's impossible. And no one else put that there but me. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. These are the feelings that I myself know that I judge when I am feeling them. I feel a sense of guilt for having those feelings. But it's important to address them. Tanya, also remember that as our capacity for blessings expands, we get met with these moments. And the truth is, your capacity for blessings is expanding at this moment. What good is a black belt if we never in a situation where we get to prove what we know? I'm not saying getting in fights. I'm saying, part of being a black belt is knowing how to avoid confrontation at all costs, but still keeping your dignity. That's what I'm saying. Just all the training of a black belt. What good is it if we're not met with these situations to get to see what we've learned? And here we are, everyone in this room, spiritual black belts. And we are met with so many opportunities now right here in the Bay Area to show what we've learned. Now I can look at this cloudy sky right now and think, oh, what a curse. Or I can remember that this is an opportunity to use my training, to remember what the truth is. And so I'm dealing with those feelings and facing them regularly. I remember reading a lot of stories in history of just so many weird times and all that. And wow, we're a part of that. I mean, we really are a part of that. People are going to read about these times, 2020, and we were there, Another thing I want to just address, maybe it's just me, but something that's a huge pet peeve of mine, right? You ever be somewhere like with your friends or your family and you're feeling something and you're trying not to let it affect the party because you want to be able to feel what you're feeling, and somebody who knows you really well picks up on your vibe, and even though you're trying to keep it secret, they just bust you out and, what's wrong, Luchan? That drives me nuts. that take me aside and do that. But I also have to understand that I do the same thing too. If somebody's in their kind of mood, and because I love people and I want them to feel good, especially in my presence, I do the same thing. I'm also realizing as I think more about this topic, facing our feelings, is that a lot of it is me learning how to laugh at myself. It's not always funny right in the moment when we're feeling the pain or feeling whatever uncomfort we're feeling, but at least for me, I always know once I get past it, it's gonna make a really great story that I get to laugh at. And that's why I appreciated your story about the dogs, Tanya. Something I really want to get better with is not everybody has to get my humor. And I want to share it with people all the time, but I know my humor can be just an acquired taste. And so sometimes I think it's safe to share it, and then I weird somebody out, and then I'm avoiding that person for the rest of my life because I know I weirded them out. But it's like, look, man, just laugh, Not everybody has to share the same humor as you. And you shared a piece of yourself and it weirded the person out, and it's all good. Embarrassment is a feeling. And so what I try to do when I get embarrassed is laugh. It's not always funny when I'm embarrassed, but hey, when it happens, it happens. I think that another thing I really appreciate about Oakland CSL, that we all share that same kind of dark humor. And I think dark humor is very important to get through this experience called life. I think that is very important. Dark humor is for those of us who have survived something we would consider dark. And once we get through that, there gives us a sense of knowing that God is literally all there is. I know it because I've seen God in the most darkest situations. And now I get to laugh at anything dark because I know God is right there too. It's now 7:50. Oh, do I hear somebody trying to talk? There's that handsome guy.
Oh, lying will get you everything you want. It seems to be in the mood these days.
I don't know if that's true because I tell myself I'm tall in the mirror all the time, and
Oh, Luchan, you have so many other qualities, so I wouldn't worry about it at all. One of them was tonight. I want to really, really thank you for encouraging us to face our feelings. But I'm going to recap something you said. 4 things real fast. You said you ask yourself, how am I feeling? Well, that's where the end of the conversation with myself goes. I never thought to ask myself what you said tonight. The second thing, once I determine how I'm feeling, which is, why am I feeling this way? I just stop at I'm feeling crappy. And I'm not good with it, and it encompasses me the whole day. It's my moral direction, right? So thanks. I'm gonna go the next step. So you really good at what you do, Luchan. Secondly, thirdly, you said, remember, the state of my mind or our minds is an invitation. And I'm curious that the next time you speak, if you could elaborate on that for us. I think there's something there in the process that I need to discover. So I'm gonna remind myself of that, and maybe next time we get together, we can elaborate on that. And then you finally said, check yourself. The real relationship of my feelings is with myself, right? And once I check that, then I can navigate a little bit better, I think. So thank you for all of that. I'm looking at the chat notes, and people are sending you really lovely messages, and they shared tonight. And this has been a most rewarding service. So I'm very grateful to you. Would you kindly close us out in prayer?
Yes. Continuing in the perfection and the love of God. I know that this is God's moment, and we allow ourselves to feel it fully, regardless of if it's uncomfortable, regardless of if it makes us feel great, we have guilt about whatever it is. I know that we are allowed to feel fully what we are feeling, and we welcome it. For there is only God. And for this, I am thankful. I am thankful for everyone in the service, everyone outside the service. I am thankful for this moment. I am simply just giving thanks, knowing all is well and all is perfect. I release free of doubt, free of worry, and so it is.